Hello, welcome back to the studio. My name's Kaylee and I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings. Today I'm going to show you a step-by-step oil painting. We're going to the Red River Gorge, painting the natural bridge for Tutorial Tuesdays number 23. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but we'll find out later. All right, let's hop right into it. The paint list is going to be in the description below. I'm going to grab a 1-inch brush and start with the crimson. I'm just going to tap into that. My canvas is already prepped, 18 by 24 inch. Starting in the corner. I'm doing long horizontal strokes today. We're going to have some long clouds kind of just shooting through the sky up here. More crimson. It's going to be a nice autumn scene. I guess we'll keep doing some autumn scenes. It's still autumn in some areas, or fall, whatever you call it. But it's gotten pretty chilly here in the valley of Salt Lake. Not all of the trees have lost their leaves, so we're just waiting for that. But 60 degrees is still quite a nice day, and that's maybe about what we're going to get today. So in the mood of autumn, I thought we would paint this fun autumn scene. I know this looks like a lot of crimson, but just wait, it'll get better. Just trying to put in some texture and get a few ideas of, what it's going to look like once we get some other colors going. I'm going to go into some Indian yellow, titanium white. Oof, I just got a new tube of titanium white and it's just the right texture. The winter time is a little bit harder. I mean, it's not quite winter, but it's still on the edge and it gets a little bit harder because the paints are tougher to use. But we can work with it. And with this fresh new tub of the liquid white and the new tube of titanium white, it's going well. We're going to have the light coming in from this side today, the left side. So I'm just putting in a little bit of color. Just pop it in there. And I'm going to pick up a clean 1-inch brush, just a different 1-inch brush. We'll tap into the crimson and pick up just a touch of Prussian blue. I'm looking for a lavender color. And we're just trying to work it into the brush so it's a nice consistent texture. You don't have blue splotches with the crimson splotches. We want it to be nice and lavender or consistent colored all the way throughout. And you can always add more blue. You can add more crimson if it gets too blue, but it's nice to just start easy. And we're going to work some clouds into this side. I do want it to be a bit darker, so we're just going to go for it. I got a bit more paint mixed up on the brush, and we'll just get it to the color that you want. If you're having a hard time seeing the color, you can always get some titanium white and mix it just to see what color you're working with. I have a white, there's just white paper behind this piece of plastic here, so I can see the colors pretty well on there. Plus this light reflecting down is really helping. I'm still using those long horizontal strokes. Let's work some of this color down below since we're gonna need some color here anyway. There's no reflections today, no water. If you want to add water, you could somewhere, but there isn't normally from this view that I recall. Water, there might be a little bit lower, but since there's not any water, we don't need to leave any huge sections for, you know, reflections of light. So we can kind of fill this in. I do still want to keep the colors to be similar, so the darker colors on this side, and then we'll come back with some crimson over here. Let's do that. You can just pick up the other brush that you had going, dip into some crimson, and just get some of this color onto the canvas. This is just going to help our next layers, and it adds harmony to the painting. This is also going to help you make sure that you get all of those pores of the canvas filled. Just makes for a lot more of a polished look on your painting when you're done. A little bit more crimson. Something like that, and I'm going to pick up the other 1-inch brush that we were just using for this lavender and go right into a little bit more of the blue and titanium white. I want just a little bit of a lighter lavender color towards the blue side, so now I'm mixing it with just a touch of our crimson. And we'll use some of this just right at the horizon. We'll probably not see much of this, but it's nice to have down here just a little bit of a kind of the mistiness that you'll see at the base. Really far away, maybe some of the pollution in the air or something. I'm just making sure that my blending brush is clean. Sometimes they'll have a little bit of a tint and I don't want that. Other times it won't matter, but let's pick one out. There we go. And we'll just start over in this corner where we've got a little bit of our liquid white. I just want to get this to blend, and then we're going to soften from this bright area to the dark area. Still just working in those long horizontal strokes, kind of making an X, but nice and long. And work from the light areas to the dark areas. We don't want to get too much of this lavender on the brush before we are done working in the light areas. And we're just trying to soften it to get some of these brush strokes out. Here I'm tightening up the stroke just to get a nice blend there. Nice and soft. All right. All right. Next, we're just going to pick up the 1-inch brush that has the crimson on it. That will do just fine. We're going to tap into the titanium white. distribute that into the brush. We want a good bit, but we want it to be not too chunky. So we've got it nice and loaded up. Tap and drag and drag it and tap it. Okay, lots and lots of paint loaded up. And when we drag it, we're just going to kind of flatten out the brush just a little bit. And we'll start by just tapping on the titanium white across in some like flat, long clouds. You've seen them, they're there. Just those long, it's just kind of a calm day, and they're just these flat little clouds, gaps in the sky, and the colors of the sunset are just sparkling off of these little bits of water that are collecting. We're just using the titanium white first. We're going to allow that to kind of blend with the paints that we already have on there. And we'll maybe do a little bit more on this one. And we'll give it a little Next, we'll take the blending brush. And we're just going to start in the light area and go across and pull these clouds nice and flat. Isn't that fun? Now let's give them a little bit of a lift. Back across, really light, barely touching. Lift these ones up here. Get out those brush strokes. Isn't that just a fun way to do some clouds? Super simple, and just soften them out until get them to where you like them. They're just distant little bits of light popping in the sky. Now I want to take just a tiny bit of white on the brush, some Indian yellow, and we'll just give a couple of these a little bit of pop right out over here. Just some little yellow golden dudes just hanging out. Give those a lift. And pull them out. Really nice. Now we'll take just a little bit of that same color, grab a little bright red, just a touch. It's kind of a pink. We'll just grab a couple of these, just a touch. Let's go ahead and blend the bottom. I want to keep this light area in here because we're going to have some mist coming in later. So we'll try not to get rid of all of that area so we can use it. And that liquid white will still be there. So we'll be able to blend with it and make a really pretty mist. Very, very simple. And we want to always try when we're blending to blend from the light areas to the dark areas. That just saves you having to clean out your brush and getting, some muddy paints. Lots of pressure here. Really want to get this nice and grayed out. There we go. Whew. It's a good exercise there. I'm going to pick up one of my dirty brushes. The one that has the lavender in it will do best. Let's go ahead and pick up some of that lavender mixture and a touch more blue. Tap into the brush. Alizarin crimson, Prussian blue. Titanium white. I'm going to put a little foothill out here, some distant hills. I want it to be more to the blue side than to the red side. And I'm just tapping into the brush so we can get a nice soft foothill out here. So right out over here, we'll just tap and kind of pull it down a little. And all I do with my hand is I kind of just turn it like this and I give it a little bit of shape, but I'm always pulling straight down. Let me show you again. We'll just tap out the bottom of this and I'll show you how easy it is to add more depth and detail into your paintings by just putting in some simple details like this. By tapping out one little foothill that you have, load just a touch of paint, just a touch more. The same color as what we just used. I'm just getting a little bit more. And we just tap and pull down. And then you can turn your brush. See how we just give it that nice shape up in here? Really, really, really simple. Now we'll just use our blending brush. I have not cleaned this brush. It's still dirty from earlier. And if you're overloading your brushes, you are going to have some excess paint on it, and that's okay. You just practice and then you'll get better at it. So we're just going to tap real softly and make some mist down here, and then we'll give these trees a little bit of a lift. Just barely pulling them straight up. It's just going to help get rid of some of these tap marks that we put in. Let's do one more. Blue, crimson, titanium white. Maybe this one is just slightly darker than the other ones. And he's just going to sit real close. Oh, and then he comes above this one and back down. Something like that. Tap out the base. Straight up and down. Give this a little bit of a turn here. Some texture for some clouds and mistiness. See how I'm picking up some of this dark and it's kind of getting a little muddy now. We just wipe off the brush. Just on a little paper towel, t-shirt, old t-shirt. Not the t-shirt you're wearing, but any old t-shirt that you have permission to destroy. Clean that up a little bit there. Just give that a good lift. Look at how many layers we made in here. Just some really, feels like there's a lot more detail, but we didn't really try all that hard. We don't have to tell everybody that, but it's very simple with this wet on wet process to just make these really misty effects happen just like that. Okay, we'll go on to the next layer. Okay, we're going to put in the next foothill here using my same dirty brush. I'm actually going to pick up a little bit more crimson because I've used it all. So I'm just going to fill in my little area here. It doesn't matter that it's dirty underneath it. Just plop your paint out. I'm going to tap into the crimson. Go right into my dirty pile here. Get some blue. Much darker now. Still towards the blue. We're going to pick up a touch of green. Tap into that. And right out here we have another little hill. Just tap and pull straight down and you'll get some nice looking trees without trying too hard. Just tap into some paint. I want to pull out just a few, and we're kind of supposed to have a little bit of a little point out here. Let's just do the same thing we've been doing. Give it a little bit of mist. You really want to worry about this top edge here, just like when we're painting a mountain. Just bring this across here. Lift. Just a little. Let's go into a little bit more green. Just give it a little tint that's slightly different than what it was. And we've got a nice little foothill or a nice grove of trees kind of right in there. Tap it out. Let's get some more crimson and blue. A little darker now. And we'll put in another little hill. Tapping and pulling down. Blending brush. Let's give these a little bit of fun over here. We're going to get the highlight brush, go right into the yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. And we'll just tap in a few little areas where there are some pops of color up here. soften that out. It's still really far away. We'll get some crimson, some phthalo blue or Prussian blue, some sap green. And we're just gonna finish off this like little hill back here. Pushing up, we'll get a little bit more texture. Kind of looks like distant trees back there. We'll just mix up some dark here. Pop in some trees. Now, soften. Starting to give this kind of misty area a little bit of texture. We're just swirling around, getting this paint to mix with the liquid white. Let's wipe off the brush. Right down below, just do an X stroke, and this will really help to blend those colors to give our mist a little bit of this pink and lavender color. Just give it some swirls. And clean that up a little bit. Right out on this hill, we're going to add just a touch of more color. Just go right into the sap green and Indian yellow. Just pick out a few areas and add in a little bit more color. Just a little bit more green, kind of make it pop. And those misty areas will still stay there. Just defining this kind of tree line over here a little bit more. You want it to be nice and soft. Just to add in a few little pops, just a touch of Indian yellow right on the edge. Just a few little pops of fun color. Go right into the bright red. A little more now. And we're just going to pick out a few trees that are living down here. just want to add in, give it an idea of there being some different trees back here and some different colors and just some pops of color. Soften them out a little bit. Just a little hint, not too much. And right out in this middle area, we're gonna get a little bit more brighter color. Some titanium white into the Indian yellow and sap green, just right on our little highlight brush. Tap into that, and we're going to just tap in some bright green. Let's get a little more white and a little more green. I want this to really feel like a big kind of pop, the trees that haven't quite turned yet. We'll just kind of throw these in right in here. Bright green, titanium white, yellow ochre. Let's go into Indian yellow, yellow ochre. A little bit more green now. Right out to the edge. Let's just soften that. Let's add some branches now. I'm going to get some of my brush wash onto my script liner and just go right into our dark mixture. Let's get a little bit lighter, just a touch of titanium white. We'll put in a few maybe behind. These ones are much further away. Won't really see them. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a helicopter flying by right now. Pretty loud. I live pretty close to some big mountain areas and a lot of like world-class trails. It's not to say that that is an emergency helicopter, but we do hear them at our house. Let's just get some more. I just want lots of branches down here. Really dense woods out here in the Red River Gorge area. If you've ever been there, I really like it. Kentucky, this is going to be in the Natural Bridge National Forest, I think is what it is. Natural Bridge in Kentucky. Really, really beautiful. I've seen it. I've walked on it. It's really cool. I definitely recommend going if you can. It was really, really fun. Good hike. I'm going to get just a little bit of Indian yellow, a little bit of sap green. We'll just do one layer, right out in front. Just something kind of like that. Get some more stumps going in here. We might not see a lot of this, but I really wanted there to be this bright green kind of wooded area in between You know, because there's always going to be different kinds of trees and they're going to turn different colors at different times of the year, different temperatures. Sometimes they're just more tolerant and will change later. So I know that there are a bunch of different kinds of trees in this area, so we're just going to put those in. And right out over here, we're going to have a nice little rock. I'm picking up a sable brush because I want to kind of shape out the rock. So I'm going into my burgundy mixture, which is just about equal parts of sap green and alizarin crimson to make just a nice brown. And just check my sketch. We've got kind of rock here. We have one area here, nice rock. We're just going to use this brown mixture to kind of pick out a few areas for us. And let's finish this one off here. We'll mix up some rock colors, titanium white, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, and just a touch of our burgundy mixture. And for a shadow color, the burgundy, Van Dyke brown, Prussian blue. Pick up some titanium white, marble that. A little bit more blue. And then Van Dyke brown. Over here into our highlight color, we're going to pick up just a touch of bright red and some titanium white. We just want to marble that together. Now our sun is over on this side, so we're going to pick up some highlight color on the knife. And just on the right hand side, we'll work some highlights down our stones. Nice and flat on the top. And we'll just pull this down. Now we'll do this next little one. And these are pretty far away, but I think these are still pretty large stones that you can stand on, fairly certain. And we'll just do a little here, kind of like that. We'll pick up just a touch of our shadow mixture. We want to go right in and grab some of the highlight and kind of pull it back. And we'll just allow some of these blues to mix and give it just a touch of a shadow color back here. blending brush. Let's just lift that up, soften it a little bit. Now, we have another stone right on in front of that, kind of right about here. Comes down in front. Right down like that. It's dark. Now, highlight, just like we did. Down the outside. And then we just want to build up our highlight areas. That stone basically is just this big old rock coming down like that. Looks good. We'll do a little bit of shadow color back in here, a little below. Blending brush. Now, we have a couple trees out on this area. So with the 1-inch brush, we'll just put them in. Kind of just have some trees, something like that. We're just using some of the brown mixture, kind of most of the colors going, and we'll just tap in a few ideas of some trees out here. Yeah, we'll just do a couple out here. Pick up a fan brush, get some Indian yellow, and we'll just pop in a few. We'll do a little more highlighting later. Let's let that sit for just a moment, and we're gonna build this next rock. Basically the feature point. But first, let's do a little tiny bit of mist. We'll just tap right into some titanium white. This is just pure titanium white on my dirty brush. We're just getting some mist. Don't want to get rid of all of this, but we really want to have a nice misty effect through this whole area as it's just rolling through these hills, kind of climbing up through the trees. Anybody who lives in Kentucky or knows what I'm talking about in these areas, let me know in the comments below, because I know that it gets pretty misty in foggy and stuff in these areas, especially when there's a lot of moisture in the air and then it gets a little bit warmer throughout the day. It just starts to evaporate. And then now we have the sun setting and there's just all of these different temperatures and pressures happening. Boom, you've got this rolling foggy mist. Let's just soften some areas here and there. The harder that you press, the more that it's going to blend. So be mindful of that. Just want a big bright spot right there and some good rolling cloud, mist, fog stuff. Yeah, let's do a little bit more, even right over here. That looks fun. Add just a touch of bright red to our mixture, just right over here. Might not even show, but it's just a little bit of a flavor change there that you all know I'm into. So there we go. Let's just make it nice and soft. A little softer over here. So we're just gonna tap some more and just, I'm kind of lightly tapping at the top just to soften the mist and to give it a little bit of shape. You can even give it some swirl with the brush, kind of like a cloud. Okay, I'm gonna go grab a little snack and I'll be right back. All right, just had a little snack and I'm back. So let's get back to this painting here. I'm gonna go right into the dark color, grab a little bright red. We're just going to pick out the shape and find, let's do it from this way. I want it to slope slightly up, just barely. And we'll go up to this. Right, and something like this. I want to get a nice dark edge here. And we're going to fill some of this area in with some more foliage, but we just really want to make sure that we get this nice and dark here. And just across this area here, we'll have highlight. We'll just push in some bright red. Just pull that all the way across. Let's actually pick up our knife now. Pick up your brown mixture that was equal part alizarin crimson and sap green, and we'll toss in some bright red, Van Dyke brown, and dark sienna. A nice dark brown. That's what we're going for. Pull off some of that paint, and we're just going to apply this into the canvas here. We don't want to go all the way down because we are going to blend the ends here, so we'll just kind of have thin paint, just getting it into the canvas and working on the edges. Really want the edges to be standing out. Just getting some paint into the canvas. Right down here behind this arch, we're going to have some more trees, so let's just pop those in before we get too far on the arch. Then we can always come back and tidy it up. So we're just going to use some dark greens, and pop in some dark with our highlight brush. We can just pick out a few. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. Just tap out a little bit of this at the base, and we'll use our script liner to put in a few tree stumps. Misty, misty. Then we'll come back through and redefine our natural bridge here. We're just getting this paint to work in some texture onto the canvas. Goodness. It is super, super windy today, and my allergies are not liking it. 'Tis the season. Let's just get some of this working in here, and now we'll take the brush and just soften that. Same thing over here. Let's just soften some of this out, lift it up, and get those brush strokes out. We'll do another layer in front of this arch, but we'll just leave this for now. And then we're gonna put in some trees up in this top area. I'm gonna start with my script liner so I don't go crazy here, and just pick out a few areas or a few trees. There's quite a lot of trees that start growing on the top of these natural arches, and I think they're really cool. So I just want to try and get some of these in. So I'm going to put in a few stumps, if you will, just to help me remember what I'm doing and pick out some of the areas and the sizes of trees. So there's a good bit over here, some tall ones that are going to be back behind. They're just growing. And there'll be some in the foreground. And we'll put those in too. Just get some stuff happening over here. And we're gonna have it kind of come down into this area. We don't want to get rid of all of this mist back here, so we'll just try and pay attention to that and work in some colors. Now, let's decide. I'm gonna pick up my other knife and just kind of move some paint around. We'll just load it up with a little bit of paint, and we will pick out just a few. We're just going to kind of fix up some of these lines here. A lot of this is going to go away, but we really want to make sure this has some really unique type of texture on it, and we just want to try and get some of that to be accurate. And it is blowing so much. It is so windy out right now. Yeah, very, very, very windy. Just going to pick up some Van Dyke brown and put in this kind of feature crack here so I don't lose it. I'm just going to kind of put in this dark area. We'll grab some of our dark brown shadow mixture and just throw some of that down there. And I want some of this shadow mixture to be incorporated over into this area. There's a few kind of these nice cliffs that kind of come off here. Just these little cracks. So let's just throw in some of these dark lines. Van Dyke brown. Let's just go right into, we'll get some Van Dyke brown, titanium white, And then we'll pick up a little touch of bright red and a touch of our brown mixture. A little bit more Van Dyke brown, just marble it in. We'll start with this. It might be a little too bright. Let's grab just a touch more of our brown. Let's try that. And starting back here, I'm just going to work in a few lines of highlight. And I'm going to bring this around. Something like that. A little more on the top. Our lights, like some are in this region, so we're going to have some different areas that are going to be picking up some lights and different areas picking up shadows. So we'll just mix up a little bit more of our highlight mixture. It's just a touch darker now, and we'll come over here and mix up a shadow color. Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, and our brown mixture, and blue. Let's start on some shadows. I'm just going to pick up some of our shadow mixture on the knife. We're just going to pull some of this down. Let's pick up just a touch more dark. Go into our highlight mixture, and we're going to work down the side here. Just kind of dragging in a few gradients here. It's just catching on these little slivers. Big chunk of highlight there. A little bit more. Man, it's just so windy out. Blowing everything around. I didn't think there was a storm coming in, but maybe there is. I don't know. I'm going to clean off my other knife and see if I can work with that for just a few minutes. I want to pick up a touch of yellow ochre into our highlight mixture. Just grab a little bit of the paint. Right on this inside edge here, we're going to put some color. And here. And then we'll just line the bottom of this crack that we put in the top. Over on this side, I want to work in a few horizontal layers, just kind of getting an idea. There's just a bunch of bushes and stuff over here, so we can't quite tell. And we'll add in some of our shadow colors. Make this nice and misty. I think the winter time might be the only time you'd be able to see the bottom of these, because there's so many trees down at the bottom of this arch, even where these natural bridges are, and basically all over in the cool areas of Kentucky that I really like and enjoy, because they're just so like dense, and you just pop out and see foothills that just kind of go forever and ever, and then these really crazy natural bridges. There's quite a few in the area, and there's a lot of really fun little hikes you can go on to see a bunch of the natural bridges. So yeah, I thought it would be kind of fun to paint one today. And this one, I thought people would know at least. So it would be an easy one for you to know, that we're actually painting a place that maybe you've been to, and it would be fun to paint your memories. I'm just going to soften some of this, barely, 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 barely. And we'll pick up some of our shadow color and work this in back on some of these shadow areas. And we'll just bring this all together. It doesn't have to be exact. We're just trying to get an idea, the feeling of a place, and have fun. We're doing this all in one sitting, which is crazy. But it's so much fun. And I want to just highlight right here a little bit more. And we can come back in and do some more highlights later. Over in this area, let's put some trees. A little bit of Indian yellow, some titanium white on the brush. Bright red. Just bounce around between the colors, working in some layers back here. Titanium white, yellow ochre. We're just bouncing around between these colors, popping in some trees, just where you think they ought to be. The delivery is not here yet. I ordered a new laptop that is going to connect with everything that I have for recording, and it should just sit right in here while I'm recording, and we'll be able to do live videos and more live opportunities, and it'll just have all the bandwidth that I need. So I'm really excited, and that's supposed to show up today. So we'll get that going soon, and you'll be able to see some new videos here soon that will be fully live, and we'll all be able to interact. Well, you know, it's kind of hard to paint and interact at the same time, but we're gonna do it. And by we, I mean me. I record everything by myself, and sometimes I have a little bit of help editing, but most of the time I do all the editing myself. And yeah, I just kind of like a one gal show here. I do have somebody who helped me recently just redo my entire website, so please go check out my website, KayleeRakowski.com. Lots of easier ways for checkout, just some nice little updates, and we're working right now on getting the booking stuff set up so that you'll be able to book some private lessons, and we can do some, you know, one-on-one painting lessons if you want. We do them over the web or via, you know, if you live here in Salt Lake City, we can do them here. I'm gonna get a little bit more shadow color mixed up here. A little lighter now. I want a nice gray mixture here. Kind of losing some shape, but we'll bring it back here. We've got this. I really wanted to get these lines that we're working in underneath because they're there, but then we also have the light that's playing off of all of this. So we're just going to pull in these shadow areas here now. Let's do a little over here too before we run out of this color that I mixed up. Just bring it a little bit more together and soften it. And now school is out and all the kids are running around and they're so happy because the wind is blowing, but they're being silly. Let's just tap a good bit of this out. Really want to soften it. Back to our highlight color. Just grab a touch of that. And we want to work in this line down here. We'll let that sit for a little while and we can work on it more later. Let's go into our brown mixtures. Grab a little bit of blue. Just to mix that on the brush. And we're going to put in a few trees. Just punch in a few different looking trees. Try not to make them all the same. And right about here, now we'll put in some more branches. I really hope you all are enjoying my fun little tutorial series. Every other week now I'm going to try and post an additional video, which should be coming in on Friday for Friday Fun Day is what I'm going to call it. Every other Friday in the evening. I was going to pick a time, but then it just seemed really stressful, so I'd like it to be at 5, but it probably won't. Not a live premiere. We're just going to do something fun. Something, you know, like maybe I'll pick a day and we'll do something special, like a clouds thing, or maybe we'll just do whatever I want to do. Or last week I did a really big canvas, which was super fun for me. So it'll be just a surprise, something different, and Kaylee gets to have fun, which these are also really fun, but just a different kind of fun. Sometimes these can be a little stressful because I still want to like do a good job. But the way that we paint these so quickly, it's really hard to get a feeling of the way that it's going to look when it's dry. So that's something I try and capture for you, is some photos of, you know, the day after we paint it, because it looks different as it dries. Very, very quickly it'll start to look different. So I'm trying to make sure that I get some good photos for you all so that you can get a good perspective of the way that they change, and also just in general how they look the first day where they're all glossy in the studio, and then when we get some good lighting on it and try and capture a really nice photo of how they can sometimes look a little bit different. But yeah, it can be kind of stressful sometimes to do the tutorials as I talk through everything, you know, because I want to still do a good job. But this is the first time that I've painted this scene, and it's basically how I paint everything. It is just a one-off the first time. If I'm working on a commission, which I do, I have different scenarios, but for those I still am like, sometimes it'll go right the first try, sometimes it won't, and I have to try again. Sometimes I try multiple times and it still doesn't go right, and I have to make a new plan. So there's a lot of different scenarios, but largely when I'm doing these tutorials, if you're seeing it on YouTube, then it was a successful run from start to finish. So any other time, I usually just don't show you guys because they don't end up being like my favorite paintings, or I get tired or hungry or frustrated, and sometimes those are just not all worth sharing. I'm just switching to a fan brush because I just like the way that this is just like a super old fan brush. I mean, I kind of just go back to it when I get a new fan brush. I go back to my old fan brush because I don't like the new fan brush as much, because this one has such good character. It's missing some bristles. It's made so many trees and bushes. It's worked hard. Do a few more bushes right down here. Let's scrape in some branches. And I'm going to pick up some titanium white. Didn't want to come out of its home. Titanium white. Boom. Grab some of that, some yellow ochre and our brown mixture. Get it all over the light. No, I did a good job. Just mix that. And we'll use a touch of this. And just fix up some of the lines and our rock underneath these trees. And let's work in some of this color right over here. A little bit more titanium white. Little titanium white down here. Okay, just a little bit more highlight color to bring some more pop down here. A few little catches. And I want to kind of fix up this line there. It was kind of weird. Let's put on a few highlights. I'm going to pick up a different fan brush. Actually, before that, I want to... Oh, we scratched in some. We already did that. Put in some little branches in here. So let's go into the Indian yellow. Get a little bit of liquid white on the brush. And we're going to pick out a few gold trees. Some yellows and reds. into the yellows. Some white. We're just using the corner of the brush to push up, and these little pops of highlights kind of they just come right off. Let's go into a little bit of green. Little touch of yellow at the tips. Maybe green, a little white. Just a few of these. Back into some red. And let's pick up our little bit of our shadow mixture and just pull in a little bit of shadow there. Go back into our yellows, some white. Just thinning the paint in so that it'll stick. Right now, my new titanium white is pretty thin, so it's helping to thin out the paint, but definitely have to be cautious of it. If I was painting a mountain today, it would be a little bit more of a challenge, but some of these rocks I was having some issues with, so anyway, here we go. Let's do a little bit out here on these. Just some fun bushes and some trees still out here hanging out. A little bit of our shadow color and just clean up those edges. Let's clean off the fan brush a touch and go into our liquid white. We'll pick up a little bit of Indian yellow, and we'll just pick out a couple little brighter ones, kind of just popping right in the front, maybe. Nice and thin. We're going to come back in and put in a few more tree branches and stuff, so it'll all come together. We just want to get some fun varieties of color that are all happening in there. Let's leave that. Go into a light gray mixture, pick up a little bit of liquid white. Twirl that. We'll just throw in a few. I'm thinning it down with my brush wash. And now I want to scrape in a few little branches as well. soften, put a little bit more highlight. Just our brown mixtures and titanium white. Just a few more little flat areas out here. We'll just kind of pull those out. All right, down below, let's do a little bit of this. I'm gonna put in some green ones first. Just pushing up. Get into some yellow ochre. Do some branches. Kind of missed some of this out. Put in some branches over here. Okay, right over here I want kind of a dark green, another little kind of hill, just to, add some dimension. So we're just going to put a nice dark green. We're using just green, brown, and our blue. Nice and dark. Try and get some variety. Those will be your trees, individuals. Just kind of work in a few more here. Just a touch of crimson now. Some branches and stumps. Do some highlights. Liquid white, yellow ochre, and just a touch of green. And we don't want to highlight all of them. But we pick out a few. And then we just soften. A little bit more highlight. Let's grab just a touch of bright red now. And go into our yellow ochre and Indian yellow. Nice golden color. And I want to pop in just a few nice bright little rascals in here. Yellow ochre, Indian yellow. Liquid white in this back. Bright red. Let's get some more yellow ochre. Just clean out the brush a little bit, pick up some yellow ochre. And we'll just pick out a few more. Make a few more of these pop. Let's scrape in a few ideas. And I want to soften some of these. Just tap out your blending brush. I want this to still feel nice and misty. So we're just going to soften it out. And we'll come back and add more where we need it. We're just going to use this and just soften all of our colors out here. Nice and soft today. Okay, be right back. I'm just going to pick up my palette knife and we're going to start working in a few different layers and colors of some little bits of mossy bits on the rock. And it's nice and wet out here, so there's going to be all this moss or lichen growing on these rocks. So you're going to see lots of different colors on areas where there's water that can pool. So like on all the tops of the rocks. And they're just like these little mossy looking bits, but it's actually kind of harder. And they're in all kinds of different colors. So we'll just put some in. And I hope that the hammering in the background is, you don't notice that too much. We're going to be having some new neighbors soon. They've been working on the house for a while, and that's going to be exciting. So they're just out there working away. I really want to do some of the blue, kind of blue-gray. There we are. The lichen. Let's add some brown. And a little bit more titanium white. Clean off the knife. We'll just use some of this in some more areas. Maybe bring in some more dark. Let's do a little dark over here. Just a little here and a little there. I'm going to pick up a little bit of our lighter color here. Just really pick out some highlights. And the top bits, the really shiny areas. Just a touch more. Just really hitting where this light's going to be shining. Just have all kinds of fun colors of the rock working around. And we want to work in just a touch more, some dark back over here. Let's work in a little bit of crimson. A little bit more dark. And back over here, we need just to get a few of these ledges back. Just with some dark, we can just re-establish a few areas of interest. And then we'll come back through with a few areas and put some of that mossy stuff, the lichen. Now, let's get some of this liquid white, or some titanium white, excuse me. I'm going to get a clean spot and put on a little bit here. I'm just going to mix up a small amount Van Dyke brown, or sorry, dark sienna. I'm getting all my colors wrong. Okay, dark sienna and titanium white, touch of yellow. And we're going to use this and just pick out a couple more little details. That we just really want them to stand out. And let's get this piece over here. We really want this to kind of pop a little bit more over here. And we're going to put in a few more trees. We'll use some of our dark just on the fan brush. And we'll just kind of punch in a few bushes. With the highlighting fan brush, we'll go into some of our yellows and some liquid white. and just pop in some color. All over in here. Now we'll clean out the fan brush and get some liquid white on it. Go right into your brightest colors. Nice and bright here. We'll just pick out a few areas right at the base here of these trees and just kind of give them a little tiny bit of a pop. Maybe over here. Scrape in a few little sticks and twigs. It's still pretty far away. This is like a really big bridge. People are really tiny on it right now. Let's go into some bright red and we'll just touch some of this right up over here, just mixing around with the colors. And now I want to just pick out a few trees below. I went into the liquid white and I'm just going to put in a couple trees that are a little bit more pronounced. Just going to pick out a couple here. Maybe one over here. I ordered a new tub of liquid white and it hasn't shown up yet. It's saying that it could be lost. And so the tub that I have is like way down at the end and it's kind of losing its, it still works, but it's like really thin or really thick, like really chunky. Maybe one right here. So anyway, I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting it to thin, but I want it just thin enough to pick up the paint that's kind of behind it, so that it just softens and blends and just fits right in, you know? So we're just thinning the paint on the brush so that it'll help this paint flow. We'll put in a few branches. Scrape in a few. They're just way back here. These hardwood deciduous trees with all their fun colors. Let's use the 1-inch brush that we have been using, kind of clean it out a little bit. Go right into the liquid white and tap into some yellow. And let's pick out the first couple here. Let's do here. pick up some red. And maybe we'll do this one here. Let's get it nice and bright now for one right here. Bright red. A little bit of pop. Yellow, ochre, Indian yellow, bright red, maybe some alizarin crimson. Back to some bright red. Indian yellow. I keep using that one up. It kind of just disappears when you are painting autumn trees. And anyway, here we go. Some Indian yellow. Pow! Yeah, right? That is a statement tree. Holy cow. Let's keep it going. I just want a few more. Wow. A little bit of liquid white. Maybe we'll just sparkle on a couple there. How about this guy up here? Really needs something. And let's do this one more time into the liquid white. Yellow, Indian yellow here. Nice and soft. Let's do something there. Let's brighten up some of this background, not too much, but let's pop in a few little sparklers back here. Here and there. What about maybe a little bit back here? Just a touch here. Maybe there's a couple of little poppers back there. And then way back, they're just sparkling out in the sun. From over here, let's just pick a few out. Now, to soften it just at the bottom. Scrape in some little sticks and twigs. Maybe over here we'll pop in a little bit of a highlight. Just a lighter greens, some yellows, some reds, and just pop in a couple little bits here and there. Maybe down the edges. Maybe a little bit in here. All right, it's starting to come together. I want to put in a couple birds because I love painting birds. You guys should know this by now. And then I'm going to step back and take a look and see. I'm going to just put in one here, flying out toward the distance. I love birds, and I especially enjoy listening to them and trying to locate them. They're just so wonderful, and they're such a good reminder of kind of just enjoying. I like watching them when they're like, up here we have a lot of mountains and it just blows and blows, and they kind of like go and kite. This is what I call it. They're just kiting. And they just like hang out as the wind is blowing, and they're flying, and they just hold still like a kite, and they fly, and it's so cool. I love it. Love watching them. Just thinking about that today because it's been so windy. They were probably all doing that, kiting. If there's an actual word for that, somebody let me know, because I don't know. I suppose I could look it up, but. So today is Monday. I'm recording this video. I am going to edit this video on Tuesday, post it for Tutorial Tuesday, and head back into the studio to paint more paintings. So I'm pretty busy, not in a bad way. I really love it. I love painting, and I've been really enjoying being able to paint all these fun scenes with you. So thank you for being here with me and just enjoying the experience and the sound of me painting. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm about to finish up here. Just want to get a little bit of this paint down in this corner. That one, these corners always get me. All right, we are all done. Thank you so much for joining me here for Tutorial Tuesday. This was tutorial number 23. We are at Red River Gorge, a beautiful sunset autumn scene. And I promise soon I will paint something other than autumn scenes, but I've just really been into these colors, and I just hope you enjoy learning how to paint some different versions of this and just layering the paints and getting the wet on wet with oil approach to give you the results that you want. So thank you so much for being here with me today. My name's Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings. Smile and be happy, friends.